So welcome to our January 2023. I can't believe it's 23 already, the year 2023. Our kickoff for our group meetup, and so glad that you all are joining. I'm Laura Caruso. If you don't already know me, most of you on here already do, but if anybody's watching, this meetup's been going on. It's crazy now for 3.5 years. I can't believe it. It's wow. Time flies. And so this meetup, particularly today, was just more of a kickoff to 2023. And to kind of just discuss with everybody what everybody's focusing on, how we can really help each other, best help each other, maybe spawn some new ideas within each other. Maybe some, Eric's working on something that we haven't thought about, or Aldo or Cheryl, you are, that, maybe we can be just looking at some things in different lenses. And then also to just discuss like what going forward in 2023 would be helpful topics as we go through these meetings and make them really the best use of your time. So, we can just kind of go from there. And, we were having a brief conversation here with Cheryl about condos and lending and insurance. So that was kind of our kickoff before we started this, but we can continue that conversation, Cheryl, or if anybody wants to just kind of introduce themselves and that way it's here for the recording and your business name and where you're located. So Cheryl, do you guys want to go first?
Sure. Cheryl Leopard and Bruce Aldrich. We're in Tarpon Springs, Florida, and we're worth it homes.
Awesome.
Because our homes are worth it when we finish with them.
I like it. I like the name. Eric, do you want to go next? Hold on, I can't hear you. Let me try.
Now.
Oh, you're
muted. Actually, so I am Eric Poles. Nice to see Cheryl and Bruce. I don't know if you remember me. We met at the last Fortune Builders. If my memory serves me correctly, with your projects, you guys were starting to find appliances and put them in a warehouse or save them or something.
Oh, they're all in my house.
Or somewhere that you can still put them into the next project. I do remember that. Either way, so just nice to see a familiar face. But myself and my wife are owners of E2 Property Group. We are down here in Naples, Florida. We have been doing, we've been with Fortune Builders since probably a day before COVID started. So it was exciting and then very nervous on the next day. But we
perfect timing.
Yeah, right on. We have gone through some flips. Laura has been not on the financial end, but she's been a big supporter and helper on some ends. So she knows well. As of right now, because of the market here in Florida got a little crazy, we have acquired some properties in Alabama that we've already sold, and one is about to finish up and get on the market soon. We just had to find something different. It was tough to find with everything going on price-wise. Even, in my opinion, distressed properties, people thought that they were at retail price to try to sell them. So it just became difficult. On the other side, we are also in the Lehigh Acres area in new construction. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, quarter acre size lots were under 10. They went up to about 25, 30 grand. Are you sneaking? My business partner is sneaking in.
He's so sweet.
To about 25, 30, and we are back now. It's about 18 to 20 a lot. So it's correcting itself a bit. Nothing to really disclose as of right now, but interesting. I'm going over all the numbers again on the new construction side, because for lots at 20 grand, and again, don't hold myself to the final number, but homes are selling for, for a 1,600 square foot brand new, and on a scale of 1 to 10, they're around at 8.59 on the finishes we're doing. They're, that the price point at 350 to 370, depending, some could be a bit more, all in, we're around, could be between 240 to 250 per project. And again, like I said, we just had a meeting with our business partner on the construction side to get some new numbers and things, because things are changing as far as time frame as well. But that is something, and that we are looking to get more and more investors a part of, because price point, lots, and size of home, it's a very good property in the Lehigh area.
Good for you.
So it's unincorporated.
Where is the Lehigh area, Eric?
Lehigh is east of Fort Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, you are about 40 minutes from the beach. Like I said, acres, you know, it goes quarter acre, half acres at some, but most are quarter acres. You know, a lot of people like it because they're not dealing with the city, the traffic, HOAs. So you got your own
Hmm.
freedom. It is, I mean, last we checked, you're around 5,000, just under 5,000 lots to be built on. Not that they're all for sale, but land that's going to need to be built on as time goes on more and more. So there's plenty of opportunity in the years to come, to say the least.
So there's infrastructure already included in when you buy into the lot? Or is
So
it
what?
a community kind of, is it?
No. There have been people, then, you know, there are other builders and they've looked at trying to acquire streets of lots to do so. Now it's more people just building and finding lots and building their planned homes on it. For the most part, myself and my partner, the building, the interest in building for the homeowner is not what we're interested in because, you know, oh, I want it blue and I want it the carpet. And so we want the investor, which they have the two options of either they get it and flip it, or they hold it to rent it. So we want the investor, you know, that looks at each skin. We have a few plans to choose from, our square footage, and then, you know, project's done, move on, you decide what you want to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as
We'll definitely, you know, definitely touch back to that.
yeah, we had a meeting last weekend and we were about just on numbers that we give ourselves about a good 2 weeks to finalize everything, get as close to it. So hopefully by the next weekend, I'm gonna have everything tidied up, and I will definitely call you, Laura, and go over some ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, that'd be
All right,
great.
so thank you.
And,
guys.
you know, I'm sure people in this call may be even interested as well as learning more. And if you've just, I know there's a couple people that came on. I said TJ, and then somebody with phone number. I don't know whose name it is, but we were doing is just kind of introducing ourselves again right now, and just because this is being recorded. For then most of us, I think, on here know each other, but just for the sake of anybody that may watch us in the future. And focus was just really where you're at, who you are, where you're at, and then there's anything you're focused on. And then the whole meetup is really just, you know, what are you seeing in the market? What are you focusing on? Where do you see opportunity? Where do you see maybe some things changing and shifting? And then we were going to talk about whatever else people want to focus on this year as far as these calls. So
Can I interject on one real quick thing?
Okay.
Not finishing.
Yeah.
So Laura and I, 4 months ago after the hurricane, we had a phone call looking at some things of what's going on down here in our area. And for the first time, my wife and I drove Fort Myers Beach last night, just during sunset. And
Yeah.
we weren't really sure we were going to get clearance. I didn't know how it was going on down there. Wow, that's very impactful. Very, very impactful
Really?
to see really what's going on.
Wow.
You know, people are projecting 5 to 10 years. I definitely say 5, not a shot. But Margaritaville owner has just acquired more land.
Oh,
Yeah, he just came out. I don't know all the specifics, but he, you know, he's doubling down. He's buying more and more up.
yeah.
So there are a lot of for sale by owner scenarios.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting. You know, what are you building into? People really want to go down right now to rent and be on the beach, and what that time frame is going to be about. So that's going to be interesting.
So you're thinking it's definitely going to be a 5-year time frame to get it back?
Five plus. You know, between things looking right that people feel comfortable going back down there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to go down to what right now? I mean, it's a bomb site. There are
Really?
there are mountains of garbage, and I don't mean like your twice a week kind of garbage. I'm talking house garbage, concrete, wood from trusses, like destruction of property, all put into mountains in certain areas.
I can't even imagine how long that cleanup, just the cleanup process said will go on. When we were going to try to meet up with you, Eric, back through Naples, that we ended up in getting something to eat in Punta Gorda, which is north of Fort Myers. And even it was over a month after the hurricane had come through, and people were still just bringing debris. There was piles and piles of debris everywhere, and people kept it like I don't know where they were bringing it from, because I mean it was literally later, and it was still just being gathered. So I can't imagine in where Fort Myers was directly hit, what type of damage and how you even clean that up to even restart.
It's not done. You can still see plenty of streets that are needed to be. I mean, it's far from even being fully cleaned.
Did you see any kind of activity there? Like, are there people there?
So there is
What's happening?
electricity. what was interesting is to see that there were a lot of buildings that had like those safety lights on the hallways, but there
Okay.
were no lights in the windows. Like
Hmm.
no one's home. But as we went down the beach a bit more, a couple units, some residents, but there's just like, there's really nothing.
Yeah, but no, like obviously no tourism because
Well, it's
come to.
well, so the beach is the beach, right? So I guess once everything is cleaned up, your beach is there. And I did see a
Yeah.
couple of couples like they parked. I mean, I don't know if it was a parking lot or a home before, but they just parked and they were having a picnic. So
Oh.
not to say that they're from Fort Myers Beach, but maybe from Fort Myers, who knows? Um, People are definitely gonna, see the plus side in this in its own sadness, I guess, right? The cool thing is, it's sort of sad to say, but as you're driving south down through Fort Myers Beach, because of all the buildings and homes that were before, you
Mhm.
never knew what was on the coastline. So sad to see so many empty lots now, but
Yeah.
you could finally see driving uh, the Gulf Coast, Naples, and all the homes and buildings and hotels. So it gives again I thought it was interesting from that point of view to see what those people do see there and
Oh,
what's
the
going to be
perspective. Yep.
the perspective, what's going to be rebuilt again, and what Margaritaville and all that see. So that was interesting.
Mhm.
That was interesting.
I believe it was. That sounds interesting. It's so sad what happened, but yeah, like I mean, there's gonna be opportunity, like you said, or people. I mean, it's a beach. People are still gonna rebuild, and
Well,
they're
my-
assist.
we were driving through yesterday. It was my wife, my child, and my brother-in-law. And we're going through Fort Myers, and you see what's going on there. Then you go to the beach. People forget that this does not happen every year. People
Mhm.
think like those that don't know, oh, this happens all the time. It doesn't happen all the time.
No.
When it hit, it's hard to go through. I mean, nothing happened to us, fortunately, where we live, but a lot of people lost a lot,
Mhm.
lives and such. But it still goes on. The world does not stop. And if you
Right.
can look through its own garbage and sadness of it all, and not to exploit anybody or take advantage of
Mhm.
anybody going through any of these situations, but there are going to be opportunities.
Mhm.
And I wish there was you and I we've had this conversation. I wish there was another word to use other than opportunity, but there's going to be something.
A way to be a helper. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like creating wins all around, like helping people out of tragic situations and creating wins for them. And then also not being a snake or ambulance chaser,
Sure, of course.
and,
There you go.
creating, something that you can be like, kind of feel good about also, like you're helping
Sure.
somebody out of a terrible situation that they may not be able to help themselves out of any other way.
Yeah. And I think the time will tell, because I think people are still trying to understand what their situation with the insurances. Like, some people do know. We came across a duplex here, but I don't know if I called you on it. But you got to be very careful with this FEMA 50% scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So, investing on a property, and you're looking at what needs to be done to it and what they're trying to sell it for, you're going, well, how much? What? I mean, the numbers are very slight. People,
Mhm.
I mean, that don't understand the FEMA 50% rule. Like, I went down to the Collier County and I spoke with the guy from Code to explain
Mhm.
off of tax records, because we thought it was one number. And he goes,
Mhm.
no, it's this. It was minimal. I mean, he looked at me. He goes, it's ridiculous, right? He even said to me, because it's ridiculous, right? He goes, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
What are you going to fix into it? How do you make it livable? It's so you can't flip it.
No.
Best case scenario, you hold it to try to rent it, but so it's tough on that regard as well. So that's,
Yeah.
I think, the other part going into Fort Myers Beach, when you're acquiring those properties, what's going to be held to that rule as well.
Absolutely. I think that when things like these, I would like the rule. I remember learning about the rule when we moved to Florida because I had never heard of it. I didn't we came across a property that was partially rehabbed. Like it was all the demo and stuff was done. And we're like, well, why are these people leaving this property the way it is? Because it was in a good location. And here it was, they weren't going to be able to meet the 50% rule.
Yes.
We're going to try to do to that property. And so they didn't have any other option but try to sell it. But who was going to buy it? Like it's
So my only side to, and again, I do not, this is a question, and this could be to anybody, is for these sellers that are, because these properties are distressed from the storm.
Yeah.
Is the best option that they're selling for a lot, you tear down and then you have to do something new that erases that rule. That's,
Mhm.
that's the answer.
I think that's
my
kind
wife
of
just gave me the okay,
partially,
that is what it is.
personally, and I mean, this is just a personal feeling. And I've not looked back to, the whole reasoning and creating of this rule and how long ago it's been created. But I think that is partially what they're trying to encourage is, all right, let's take out these old houses, and get something, because they're not meeting the current hurricane codes, right?
Yeah,
They were built, some of them forever ago. And
sure.
now if you kind of, I don't want to say force, but strongly encourage by this 50% rule, people to come in and just rebuild from scratch, then they have to be to code or the current hurricane codes. So then you're getting people that have to elevate their houses, you're getting people that have to have different windows, different garage doors, all of those.
And I think that that's going to be interesting in time to come because 4 months to now, codes are not just going to change from one day to the next.
Yeah.
So I think right now they're going to try to figure out, okay, where are we on this?
Yeah.
For example, a lot of scenarios in that Cape Coral for Mars Lehigh, if you're on the list of your projects, they have said to you, you are at the back of the line or not even on the line right now because everyone that got affected has priority.
Mhm.
So, so that's another time frame to whatever projects you're
Yeah.
working on. But what are they telling these people?
Mhm.
Because they need to do something. So what is that new code?
Mhm.
You have lots, say on a canal
Mhm.
that are no longer existing. So for example, you have upland and wetland properties that need to be inspected, right?
Mhm.
So now, well, if my lot's gone, how does a lot reappear? So it's got to be filled.
Mhm.
And now that fill's got to have some other kind of assurance of it being able to be built upon.
Mhm.
So now you have to recreate land, which, as they say, God only makes so much of it. Well, I guess as angels have to, reinvest in it.
Sprinkle down.
Yeah. So that's a part. And, so I think a lot of people are looking to see what's going to be next, but a lot of these areas have to
Yeah.
now give the okay on what these
Yeah.
codes are going to be.
Steve, I
Timeframe.
saw you raised your hand. Do you have, you want to jump in? I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if I raised it in person. I was like, oh, I'll try to do it through the Zoom.
You could do it
So,
either. I was like,
maybe walk us
what's
through-
he doing?
Maybe walk us through the FEMA 50% rule. Maybe I'm the novice that don't fully understand what that means. I just want to kind of, as I'm listening along, I want to make sure I'm following along to what I'm hearing the right thing. So exactly what does that mean?
So on tax roll on a property, there is the different lines of value. Like people thought it was like just the taxable value of the property.
Mhm.
It's a part on the tax roll that shows improved value number, the improved value. And it's 50% of that. That's how it was showed to me. So if you look at the tax roll on the property, there's going to be different line items of prices. What it was purchased for, what are you taxed upon, but again, I don't know all the I thought it was on one, and they said, I was like, okay, well, that's a decent number. The guy goes, no, it's on this improved value line, which is already small. And then you look at 50% of that.
So
and
can
say,
you
well,
give us an example? Like what was that lot or that property that you were?
So it was a duplex. And so the scenario was, it would have given me about 10 to 15 grand. And then the I don't know what you call the guy, the county inspector or code
Mhm.
specialist. He's like, but I would hope that because it's a duplex, that would give you 10 to 15 per unit. So, okay,
Mhm.
wow. So it gives me 30 grand, which is still nothing. But because he was like, because if it gives, but then he said, don't hold me to it, but just in case, that may be 10, 15 grand for the whole thing. And he goes, what are you gonna do with that?
Not much.
So my point on the property with my wife's thought, she goes, this guy had his price tag had to be for the land. Like he's telling you indirectly, this is a tear down, rebuild, because the 50% rule is going to. Now, the gentleman from county also said that they're trying to readjust and see this whole 50% rule, how it works, because obviously it's, I think going back to what Laura said, maybe it's an indirect to like, hey, just, we want more people just to do something new, do everything up to code better and nicer and gentrify a neighborhood. Who knows? Everyone's got their kind of indirect way of doing things without, putting a flag.
So this is the official, I just looked it up because I was like, I want to know for sure, like what the official, like what is 50% FEMA rule?
Good.
50% rule dictates the future of hurricane damaged homes in designated flood zones. The federal rule prohibits repairs and improvements on damaged homes exceeding 50% of their market value unless the entire residential structure is brought up to the most current building codes and flood regulations.
And I forgot one little thing. So on the market value, this, my mind just had a little
Like-
revert. The gentleman from county said that I could get my own private appraisal done. So an investment out of pocket, and
Yeah.
that appraisal would come in higher. And of course, the appraisal is on the unit, not land and units.
Mhm.
What it would be the cost approach. The value would be on the cost approach of an appraisal report would be this building, this scenario, this condition, and this market is worth this. And he said, guaranteed the price would be much, much higher.
Mhm.
So now my memory's going. So the scenario is now but people are trying to sell things yesterday. So here I go calling appraisal. Hey, look, appraiser, I need a property this done. I need this done ASAP. I need this number to get all the numbers for what you're going to do for this kind of project. You're too pressed to really to make a decision on these kind of numbers so quickly, especially not just the numbers. All this, do you fall in the FEMA 50? Are you falling out of it now with the numbers?
Mhm.
But, so he did advise that, and again, it's not a good thing. He goes, get another appraisal, and I guarantee you your number will be much higher to use on the FEMA 50%. That's how it
Seems
explains.
like
just
having
gonna chime in
somebody. Okay. Go ahead, Cheryl.
We have come across that issue as well on a property we purchased. The only good thing about county code violations is they're outside of that number. For instance, if the county has some violations against the property, you can repair those or rehab those, and that is not included in the FEMA numbers.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Yep. So like we replaced all the windows and doors and stuff on the house.
Mhm.
None of that cost went against us because they had to board up the windows and doors because the house was abandoned. So-
Well, then did you have to do as this said on this, this here Google? Did you have to put the windows into current codes then?
Yes,
Yes.
But-
We had,
But
we
it's
would
not
have that-
part of your 50% improvement rule.
exactly.
Yeah. because they were basically telling us that with the 50% rule, we're only going to be able to do like $40,000 worth of upgrades. We ended up doing what, 85, and
But
60,000 of that didn't even count against the FEMA codes. So we got to upgrade the house to almost to the requirements, but we didn't have to lift it that 8 feet because we're right across the
We're on the
street from the water.
Okay, that's good.
so we were able to skirt around it. So that's
So
where.
how did you find out? How did you discover that the house had like there were violations against it?
When we were purchasing it, I did some due diligence and saw well, it was really kind of funny. We bought the house for, what was it, like $299?
Mhm.
And there were like $799,000 dollars worth of violations against it.
They'd been watching the house for like 6 years.
6 or 7 years, the violations had just been adding up.
Wow.
And the county put it up for auction.
Yeah. And what happened is the previous owners had to clear out a bunch of the violations. And we worked with the county so that the violations we had to take care of were next to nothing. Pinellas County
Mhm.
code violations people are wonderful to work with, believe it or not.
Well, that's
as
good to know.
Yeah, I highly recommend if anybody's doing work in Pinellas County and there's code violations, go in and meet them. They love it. And they will be on your side 100%.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that told us that, because we were debating about buying it because of that 50% FEMA rule.
But on the definition that Laura read, very careful on what is defined by market value.
Mhm.
So that's so when we were like, oh well, hey, market value, and it's like no, it's again very, very careful with that understanding of the number on the property.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a very, it's almost like it'd be great to, if it get into a property like that, to work with somebody that's already gone down the path and knows all those ins and outs, even like you guys did with Cheryl, with knowing that if there's violations or whatever, and just really knowing, like you found out, Eric, what that market value is, not really the market value, what you're working with, and it really has some experience. It's because it is, I feel like, kind of a specialty to understand, and to jump in maybe the first one by yourself, I think would be like, oh, could be fine, could be could become tricky, like the one that we came across where the people had to abandon ship on the house because they obviously were going to overspend on the.
Mhm.
I can see investors in this area on these properties, that there's gonna be a few that are gonna they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Not really knowing. And I can't say experience and inexperience. I think it's gonna be just if you really understand the definition of it and what you're doing, but there's gonna be quite a few that are gonna go in, they're gonna get hurt. Really not.
Oh,
knowing.
yeah. Because
I
if you
agree,
don't
and
know,
it's
you're gonna get
sad to
hurt.
see, but it's true. And people like that have, I mean, I'm sure you all are part of different Facebook groups and stuff, and people advertising that wanting these properties in Cape Coral and Fort Myers, and all these investors everywhere wanting all these properties. And not all of them are even from here. So depending on their level of experience or their level of understanding the FEMA laws, and really what, you can get yourself in over your head I think very quickly, not going in eyes wide open.
On an,
Oh.
on an interesting part when it comes to that too, I had a scenario, I'm not gonna say the name, it was a fortune builder lender that I had been talking to. And again, I think all these business things that we're getting into are they're financial gain, but it's a personal side to this, right? There is one way or another, even amongst ourselves and the people you're dealing with, and the personal builds on the business,
Mhm.
So I think the situation with this lender, give me all her numbers and such. Oddly enough, as Laura and we were talking, the storm was going to hit Tampa, and I was wishing Laura all the best, and then the storm, shifted. And I get a call literally the day after from this lender. Hey, so what decision you make on what we discussed? I said, do you not know where I called you from? I really was upset. I was very disappointed.
That is.
I said, I gave you all the areas. I said, do you not follow any news? Nothing. She goes, what? I go, cleaning up on a hurricane, not a tropical storm. I was enraged. And I think that's part of also dealing with the investor, but also the lender and the whole 9 yards, how they're really connected to you and what you're trying to accomplish. That's a side I really,
Yeah. It's not good to lose the personal side ever.
No.
Not for any type of game.
No,
It's just not good. Not good practice. Hey, Steve, do you want to head or share yourself next, and like kind of what you're working on doing and who you are and where you're at? I mean, I know who you are and where you're at, but if anybody else doesn't.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yes, my name is Steve Saunderson. My company is Shy Home Solutions. It's my wife, my business partner. Well, it's three of us: me, my wife, and also my business partner, Lisa Eischen. We've been in Fortune Builders, I think 2019, 2018. I don't know if we take 2020 out of it, but I think it's about three and a half, going on 4 years we've been in Fortune Builders. Done a couple rehabs, have a couple rentals. Right now, I'm just wrapping up my first wholesale deal to start on this thing a while back, and the first buyer kind of fell through. But we have a closing date, I think it's the 29th, that we're working on right now. We are doing business currently in Griffin, Georgia. So I'm actually working with I'm going to say a family friend, find the best way, that's trying to build a rental portfolio. So he reached out to me and my team a few months ago, that he's looking to build. He's going to retirement. He has some capital. He's like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. He's like, I have this money, but I have nothing else. I don't have a 401k. I work for myself, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, And we kind of built some conversation about, utilizing some of his capital to build him a rental portfolio. So I partnered with a couple wholesalers. This is in Griffin, which is south of Atlanta, about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. And sadly, I don't know, I'm trying the best way to say that. I think Eric was saying earlier about you don't use the word opportunity. Griffin was just hit with 3 major tornadoes last week.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was all happening within like 2 days. So there's a lot of things happening there right now. So obviously we check to make sure all of our friends and family are okay. But definitely had a couple inklings as we kind of started just to put the word out that, hey, we're looking to buy properties in Griffin. So probably be up there sometime early next month to kind of start looking at a couple properties we've been working on, lining up some funding and some gap funding and a couple things like that, which has gone pretty well for us over the last couple months. So we want to start buying up there in March. So that's what our game plan is for this year, is, you know, between 3 and 9 properties in that market for this investor looking to kind of build his rental portfolio. So what we're trying to do is we're scaling back a little bit. Just, I guess we call it like laser focus, right? Like, I'm, you know, because I have some of my local agents like, so you're not looking in Orlando anymore. I'm like, no, we're really just want to kind of, you know, stay focused on where we're focused on, where we kind of really kind of have the game plan, kind of build that as our farm market for right now. And it's a little bit closer for us in Orlando as to when we lived in Miami, which I kind of was trying to stay away from that part. But we grew up in South Atlanta, so I think I know the neighborhood, I know the area, I know the market really well. So I was like, you know what, let's go with what feels natural, and it's not me trying to like figure out maps to kind of, is this a good part of town, is a bad part of town? They're all probably low B, C level areas where you can buy properties there right now, you know, between 70 to 100 grand, put maybe 50 grand into it, and the rent, you know, somewhere about between $1,100 and about $2,000, depends on what part of town you're in. So I think we kind of did some cost analysis on it and found a pretty decent turnaround there that met the needs
So are
of the
you
investor that we're working
partnering
with.
with are you partnering with the person that you're looking for these properties for, or like, are you going to be a part of the rent stream that they receive?
No. So what we did was, so they're gonna utilize our team. So we do have a property manager there that manages the properties that we already have there in the market. We do have a couple contractors that we've worked with previously there, and I have a couple real estate agents that I've known forever. So what it is we're pretty much doing all the legwork. He's supplying the capital, and once the deal is done, once the property is done, we've done a rehab on it. He's going to buy it at market value, or, you know, obviously a little bit below market value to make sure that the numbers kind of work.
So essentially, you're rehabbing it you're rehabbing it for him, and then he's okay.
Yeah. Yes, and then they're gonna take it over. So the only commitment we asked was you have to obviously you got to use my whole team. I said you're not picking out carpet, you're not picking out the room type. We're gonna use all the same fixtures, the same refrigerators. So I think that's where maybe him and his wife got a little excited about, like, no, that's none of that. No, we're not, like, we have to kind of stick with the game plan here, because you're gonna go Home Depot. I want these knobs. No, they got to fall within. They got to meet the needs of the budget that we put together. So I think that's kind of what we're working on right now. And I think the goal should be, so then he has one of his business partner reached out to us like, hey, well, let's see how these go for Danny, and then we, could you do the same thing for me and my family? I was like, oh, okay, cool, sounds interesting. I'm in. I said, so that's kind of what we're gearing up on right now. We just kind of got all of our funding kind of lined up. There's some hard money. We got a little bit of private money lined up. But if anybody's interested in investing in that market, the more the merrier for sure. As far as any gap funding, but that's kind of what we're
You said it's
gearing up right now.
70 to 100, or 70 purchase price. And
yeah, we're actually even some a little less. One of the property we have right now, we started a little bit sooner. So this property, we actually decided to wholesale it because we literally got it for, they owed 19 on it. We got it on the contract for 45, and we sold it for 55.
okay.
So I think my number's off there. So I know we're gonna net somewhere around 15 grand off of it.
Okay.
But they only owed, like, I think it was 16,000 that they owed on it. So I think when we kind of did the math on it, that would have been one of the properties that we kind of kept as a rental portfolio. We didn't have all the other resources in place, and I think we had enough meat on the bone that when we just kind of did it as a wholesale. But it did kind of give me a chance to kind of really kind of dive into the market and kind of do some of the numbers and kind of get to meet some of the neighbors. So I think it's an interesting part of town, but we're definitely excited about, anybody's interested, we can definitely talk more offline about it as we're kind of getting all.
Yeah, because you said you're looking, like, if anybody's interested in doing gap funding for your projects or anything like that, that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was like you said, the rehabs were about 50K.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it depends on the property, but that's the parameters that we're looking at.
Okay.
That we're looking at right now, something that's gonna resell somewhere between 150 and 200. We're looking somewhere around 150, but we're even if you just go and you can find properties there probably 60,000, 50,000. Again, it's not the best part of town, but a lot of those properties come with a lot of land too. So that's been a couple of the things that we kind of looked at. You can buy a property right now, maybe $50,000, but it might be on an acre lot. It's a lot of land. That's kind of what we're kind of looking at, like, there's a lot of land just in that part of town for sure.
And there's, you said it's an interesting part of town, but hey, people live in all sorts of interesting places. So
Yes, yes,
live
they do.
somewhere.
I have some really good friends of mine that live there. Trust me,
Yeah.
I know the area really well. So I think that was, so that's what kind of got me engaged. Like, well, instead of me learning, I'm still learning the Orlando market. I've been here with 2 years now, but I know that market like the back of my hand. I lived there for 30
And the
years. So I
Orlando
figured,
market is not simple to learn. I mean, it's just and there's so many rules and regulations and all these little municipalities around it. It's not easy.
and I think there's a lot of other investors here in Orlando, which is great. The more the merrier. But I think their pockets are a little bit deeper than mine right now. That they're at one point they were paying so much over market value and then buying 4 or 5 houses at one time. I was like, oh, I don't think we can compete with that. At least not today. We're gonna put it out there as we continue to build there. I have a few other things we're working on, but at the moment in time, I wasn't ready. But we're staying focused. We're staying at it, and definitely just trying to keep the team busy and kind of again learning to get experience along the way too.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more. I'll let everybody else kind of get a piece in, but I want to go back to the people over buying what that scenario. I want to circle back to that. Don't let me forget when we get there. But are you able to I know you went off video, but are you able to speak? You might be busy. I don't want to put anybody else on. Maybe he'll jump in when he can. Or TJ, are you do you want to jump in and kind of share what you're up to?
What's up? How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. I
love all the videos you've been doing.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. Yeah, no, I'm actually looking at a 102 unit in Tampa. I'm actually heading down there in 2 weeks, my wife and I. So the weekend of the 3rd.
Are you coming to visit or what?
I'm
in town?
I'm texting you as soon as I get plans. Don't worry about it. We're good.
Awesome.
No, we're looking at this this new build. So as you know, I guess I'm in multifamily. We're aiming for another 1,000 units this year, raising 20 million for value add, mostly in secondary markets. But this deal came up, Class A opportunity in Tampa. So we're going to kind of scout it out. It's about, I guess, about 7 minutes, I guess, in between, where the Bucks play, where the Lightning play. So it's like right in that little mix right there, right by the airport. So we're going to kind of see what we think of it, what the numbers look like, and kind of go from there. So.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're at, and there's a lot happening in that area. I mean, there's so many different things. Well, as long as the numbers make sense, right?
Right. Yep. So we're gonna, not being super familiar with the area, we're just gonna kind of play it out and see what happens, and yeah, hopefully it's a good something, and if not, then my wife and I got a weekend away from the kids in Tampa. So.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
No, it just so happened, weirdly enough, my wife found a hotel with a nice spa in it, so I feel like this was all set up.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, it's a nice little business AAA. I love it. And I love that you're coming here for this. I am looking at this. Where are you, as far as the other 1,000 units, where are you trying to obtain those at? Because I know that
yes,
the ones.
Yeah, we're all over. So we're focusing mostly in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, the Midwest, and like Indiana, Ohio, some Florida, and like little areas in Texas. So that's where we're targeting. We go direct to seller. So I focus on primarily multifamily, value add, mom and pop owners. So I go and target owners of the property that literally don't even have it in LLC, that have it in their name. I go through, I direct market to them, skip trace, get all their information, call them, text them, email them, super invasive as I can possibly be.
without them calling the police on you and telling them,
right. How'd you get my number? Yeah, I was like, well,
he seems very quiet and shy.
I have a stalker.
I go, hey, they asked me how I got the number, and I said, don't worry, I paid someone to find it. And then hopefully they say, yeah, I'll sell my place.
Comforted.
yeah, don't worry about that. No, and we've had some really good luck. I mean, we actually, so I'm in Michigan, as you know, but I will close on 30 units by the end of the month, 100% seller finance, no money down at sub-3 interest rates for 30 years.
Wow.
So the seller is, it's a heck of a deal. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we've just been targeting with this market the way it is and rates being how, where they're at. Finding sellers that are free and clear, mom and pop owners, and targeting them.
Nice. Do you have anything that you're financing currently?
The Tampa one, yes, well, there's an assumable mortgage on it, which is also sub 3 debt, 295. And then I guess one is like 312. So we'll take that debt over. It's 2 years into their 10-year mortgage for all of that. And then I am financing other debt on properties we're looking at if we can't get seller financing. We've got a national broker that's quoting right around like 5.15, 5.25 interest rates.
Oh, that's not as terrible as some others.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of it comes down to like experience, liquidity. Like they're taking a lot of that in consideration, how much you can put in reserves. And because we syndicate, I can put as much I want in reserves to kind of protect the asset for the bank as well as for us and the investors.
That makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like questions for TJ on what he's doing? Need input? I think it's super awesome. I love multifamily. I want
It's fun.
a family.
Hey, TJ, you said you are. Could you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I see you talking, but
Yeah,
I see
you
the green
said-
thing around the phone number.
Yeah. So that's my phone number. So that's me from down there in
Fair.
Providence. So.
Are you selling any properties? Can I mark it to you? Creepily?
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is if you were looking in Georgia, I do have a couple connections in Georgia. If you look for multifamily, I'll definitely pass them your way if I see anything. that
Yeah,
comes
bro.
across.
Let's absolutely. If you don't mind, I'll reach out to you right now. I'll shoot you my number. Feel free to reach out. We'll definitely
Got you.
look.
Absolutely, for sure.
We can either hook you up like as a equity partner in the deal, pay some sort of acquisition or finder's fee, whatever is best suited for you. So.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Let's take. We definitely take it offline. But I had seen a couple of things come across, and I'm in that market, but I wasn't really in multifamily right now. But I did see a few things a couple of weeks ago that if I thought about you, we should have connected sooner. But I got you.
All right, buddy. Let's go. I'll shoot you a text right now, or I'll shoot you my number right now.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. I love people connecting with people because again, my motto all along with all this group is rising tides lift all ships, and that's what I truly believe. I think that everybody helping everybody, that it's a winning for all. It's just a better way to go about it. So I love that. I don't know if Aldo, if you ever get you want to jump on and speak, feel free to chime in. But I'm going to jump to my other half now and see what he has to say about what we're doing in our business. So.
Hey everyone,
Hello.
hello. John Caruso here. Good to see y'all. Yeah, it's an interesting time. Florida market. We jumped into the short-term rental market last year, and the plan was to try to scale and expand, but just where the market has gone as far as what you have to pay, what you had to pay to get properties, I couldn't make any of the underwriting make sense. So kind of just been sitting on the sidelines with that, really trying to figure out what this year is going to be. I do think that, I do think the people that over the last 2 years overpaid are probably going to, regret that as they've settled into whatever that business is, whether it's apartments or short-term rentals. They've probably have come to the realization like, oh shit, we're not cash flowing. Now what? So as frustrating as it was to lose out on a lot of deals, just trying to be patient and seeing. I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to ambulance chase like you said, Eric. But I think there is going to be opportunities from people that were just overbuying over the last 18 months to 24 months. That said,
Can I add on to that, John? Because this was kind of
yes, ma'am. You may.
So this is what we learned. So we do still have one short-term rental, but what we've learned through our short-term rental, and it is like more of a luxury short-term rental, 5-bedroom, and sleep like 12 people. We've learned a lot through it. I'm glad we did it and we still are doing okay with it, but I'm glad we, as John said, didn't go overpay for more, because from our property management company, we've learned a lot even from last year to this year, where what they have seen is there was a lot of pent up need to travel last year, and people had money. They had money that they were sitting on the sidelines with to basically travel because they hadn't gone anywhere in 2020 and they needed to get out. And then this year, the market has changed a bit, where 5 bedrooms and above, like the amount of bookings are down 30%. The amount of money you can get down is down 30%. And even just within the Tampa International Airport, the number of travelers is down significantly. So there's a lot of factors that are going into what's happening with short-term rentals. And not that there still can't be money to be made, but for people that have bought at this rate now and they're maybe not making what they thought they could, going back to the opportunity, I do think that what John was saying, and we've discussed with our management company and just some other people, that there will be opportunities where I don't think if people don't get what they thought they could get through season, like especially the high season now going into February, March, April in Florida, people are going to need to offload properties because they're not going to be able to keep them. And then the reason for the increase of the number of properties that are for rent, there are some thoughts about that too, as far as people that had second homes in Florida, or they're trying to find a way to offset all this financing that they're having to do all over the place. But, you know, there will be probably opportunity going forward. It's just, it needs to be like, there's got to be a little correction period of what happened and then what the actual reality is of getting back to what normal travel looks like, not the year after the pandemic when people couldn't get out of the country. And so they're like, yeah, let's go to Florida. It's as close as we can get to getting out of the country. So go ahead, John.
Spot on. So still very interested and focused on cash flow, wanting to do cash flow. So I know I shared with you, TJ, I was kind of frustrated about a year plus ago when I was trying to underwrite multifamily deals and was kind of running into the same thing where just like the sales prices that people were asking and it just couldn't really make the numbers work. So trying to be patient and pick a good spot to pick up our next commercial asset.
Yeah.
So yeah, TJ, let's definitely chat when you get down here. Okay. If you don't work out a meetup with John and Laura, then I want all my money out of your apartment deals.
I was trying to unmute
Immediately.
myself. I couldn't figure it out. I actually, so I completely agree with all of that. However, I've been throwing out, because I don't know if you're familiar with the CMBS list, like the commercial backed mortgage list.
No.
Well, there's also, there's lists all over the place, right? But one of my national brokers for mortgages pulls a lot of delinquency list and basically lists like when notes are coming due. And he basically went out there and said, okay, notes that were taken out that have a 5-year balloon in that were taken out like 36 months ago, right? So there's 2 years left.
Yeah.
All right.
Targeting directly to those people, they're scared out of their mind with the lack of cash flow that those are producing. And a lot of these people are like under duress right now with regards to cash flow, cap rates to compressing so quickly that they are offloading these things just to not have to go illiquid, right? And so I'm under the impression, I was always under the impression, like, I don't want to throw out like an insulting offer, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy. But I've changed my whole mindset. Like, I don't care if I'm that guy. Like, somebody needs me to help them on out. And if it's not that person, it might be the next. And I got an opportunity to talk to Vina Jetty, if you're familiar with her. And she said, throw an offer out. She's like, we do. We get something that's in our buyer box as long as it fits our criteria. And I make an offer. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I don't fall in love with the property because it's, good property. I fall in love with it because the numbers are absolutely perfect and it's going to be a home run for me now. Because I'm waiting on the sidelines for when these deals, like, I'm helping them now. I'm going to be like helping them and pulling up by their bootstraps in 2 years when they are begging for help. So they either take it now or I or I get it later for cheaper. And so I've been making these offers out there, seller financing, maybe 70% on the dollar of its value. And we've gotten at minimum, we've gotten to LOI and we've gotten to negotiating. We have not gotten obviously all the deals, but we've got to the table with them as far as negotiating with them. So
Cool. That's good to know.
That's good to
And
know,
then-
and that's a good start. And then you're building kind of that, you're there for them, kind of.
yeah, and the
You're
other thing
falling, I'm
too
here
is,
to catch you.
well, like, yeah, and like all of the notes out there, I mean, let's say 90% of the notes out there are damn near assumable, right? So
Mhm.
any bank that is saying it's not assumable or note wise, like they are, it's just the process in which you have to go do it. And I'm not even talking sub 2, I'm talking literally signing over from John and
Mhm.
Laura to TJ Cremines. Like it's there, you can do it. It's just a lot of paperwork, a lot of headache. And so finding out this debt and then reaching out to their bank, having them send a letter basically stating like, hey, this is John and Laura. We own X property. Here's our loan number, whatever. TJ Cremines from X company is going to be calling. You are free to relinquish information on my loan to discuss the ability or availability to actually assume their mortgage. And then if this bank is willing to work with you, you get a quick, easy, in and out on this deal, and you can start hopefully, cash flowing a little bit better than the previous owner if you're, managing it or it's undermanaged or whatever it happens to be. So
That's really good to know.
Yeah, good to know.
because they probably overpaid and got cheap debt, and now you can underpay and get the same cheap debt for however
Yes.
length amount of time, right?
Right.
So
Right.
if you ever see anything, I mean, you phone call away, man. You just let me know, and I'll
Yeah.
be happy to jump on a phone call with you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. brother.
That's so good to know. Thank you. Paige, I don't know if are you able to jump in and speak? I know you're on, video's not on. Just, yeah, there she is.
Yeah, give me a second.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm here.
Hi,
Hi.
good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. So really, I'm just listening. I'm trying to take all this in. I joined a little over a year ago amidst a lot. I mean, obviously the world was in a little bit of, flux, and a lot of flux in my life at that time, and have been kind of I did all the education and been trying to figure out where the best place for me to kind of slide in and start is.
Mhm.
But as kind of Laura and John were saying, it's like there's been so much volatility of like not, being able to predict, and it's a little uncomfortable being by myself and trying to do this, first time. I just thought it would be wiser just to kind of like wait for things to start correcting a little bit before I jumped in and kind of saw what was going to happen first. So I appreciate everybody's input because I'm listening. So I'm hearing what you
Well, I'm
guys are
glad
doing.
you're here and listening.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made it. And it's especially that first step, and it's hard enough taking that first step, but then taking that first
Mhm.
step and like just really in this ever-changing dynamic we're going through right now. But like anything else, there's peaks and valleys, and then there are flat zones, and
Right.
it will happen. And
Yeah.
feel
No,
comfortable.
absolutely. It will. And I just had to shift priorities because I was going through kind of a little bit of a career change, as I had told you before too. And so now that that's starting to level out, now I'm starting to have the time where I'm like, okay, I'm itching for something else to do now. So it'll be time.
Yes, and with real estate, there's so many options. There's so much you can do. I'm sure you'll figure out what your next step in your niche is,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
I always appreciate these meetings because it kind of guides, and it's great to hear what everybody else is doing and like what works for one person and vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate that you're here, and I'm glad that they're valuable. And then I would kind of want to jump back over to you, Cheryl, and you guys, because I know we kind of were having a conversation ahead of the actual recording. So do you just want to, I know that we were talking about the whole condo thing, but kind of where are you guys focused right now? What are you?
We're looking to do some single family flips in this area. We've come across a couple of them, but right now, because of the whole COVID situation, we were sitting back and just kind of waiting it out as well, because it was so volatile.
Mhm.
It's starting to correct a little bit, and I agree with what everybody's been saying. I'm going to add one more little piece from my point of view,
Mhm,
is a lot of New Yorkers came down here.
mhm.
And if you're a true New Yorker, you're going back. I worked in New York for 11 years. New Yorkers are a breed of their own. I love them and I hate them. But Florida is not New York.
No, it's most definitely not New York.
So these true New Yorkers who bought high down here,
Mhm,
I think they're gonna get stuck. And they're gonna abandon these places, and there are gonna be some great opportunities for those of us looking at them.
mhm.
And hopefully when they come about, some of us can snag them up and make it an opportunity for ourselves. Because they're gonna-
What price point do you all usually work in? Do you have a specific criteria?
We try to stay under 300 right now.
Okay.
We need a little bit of a break because we were so flat for so long.
Mhm,
Our liquid cash is very non-existent.
mhm,
So what we're hoping is to find somebody that'll either help us out with gap funding,
mhm.
or will maybe fund 80 or 90% and fund some rehab, but release the rehab monies at the time of closing rather than doing draws.
Mhm.
Because we've got the materials. And got my crew right here. He does.
Yes,
a
if
lot of work.
anybody ever needs materials, I did learn this about when I met Cheryl. His name is it Tom? Is it Tom or
Or Bruce.
Bruce? Okay, I'm so sorry, Bruce. I couldn't remember. When I met them in Orlando, that was one of the things I learned very quickly about. If you ever need materials, they have plenty of them. Doors, kitchens, appliances, all ready to roll out of their garage.
I will make you laugh. And this is one of the reasons my funds are a little tight too. But we were in St. Augustine just before Christmas. And I got a call from Lowe's. And he said, this one guy gave me your phone number and he works at Lowe's and was transferred down to this new store in Clearwater. He goes, are you interested in a bunch of doors and windows that we have to clear out? Of course I am. But I'm in St. Augustine, so I can't get there. So he held them for me. And we walked in and somebody said, well, we hear you're buying all 7 cartloads. And I did that little pucker factor thing, like 7 cartloads? What's this gonna cost me, right?
Yeah.
Because you know they can fill the carts up pretty good.
Mhm.
I said, if the price is right, I'll buy them all.
Yeah.
7 cartloads of doors with full frames, windows. What else?
Bifold doors.
Bifold
the
doors.
Etched pantry doors.
There was one etched pantry door that was 36 inches that normally sells for $700 and something.
Yes.
So he does his magic and he says to me, $450?
$450
For
I
seven
for
cartloads.
all of that?
So I said sold.
Oh my goodness gracious, that is wild.
His account,
Yeah.
they gave him 10% off for military.
Oh my goodness. That is a great.
That's awesome.
I was happy
So
with
they have
that.
their own like resell thing going on here over Cheryl, and have like you can just go purchase from them if you don't want to work.
It's hilarious. But yeah, it's just been really hysterical with things like that. I get calls like that.
Which store was that? Lowe's, you said?
Lowe's
Lowe's
in
in
Clearwater,
Clearwater.
Gulf to Bay.
Man, we should just start calling every Lowe's and Home Depot and ask them if any carts they want to get rid of.
Well, I'll tell you, start making some connection. Whatever they have their clearance stuff marked at, talk to a manager. Say, can you come down and start developing that rapport? We've got it with 2 or 3 Lowe's around here.
Yeah, just go into the Lowe's, even the Home Depot near you.
Yeah.
And go over to the millwork area and talk to the manager. Because whenever they get these things, they have to get rid of them somehow.
That in special
And-
orders.
Almost every door was a special order that somebody returned.
Wow.
Because they ordered it and oops, it was the wrong size, or oh, we wanted a right-hand swing, not left-hand swing. So they can't put it on the shelf because it's a not stock item.
So
And
have
the
you been able to use these items in your rehabs?
We just picked it up the other day. So.
Okay. Because I'm
But-
curious because they are special order. Like, does that make that difficult to fit into your rehab?
Not usually.
No, because usually when you're rehabbing, you can make your door opening whatever size you need to.
Yeah, that's true.
I need to do some rehabs because I have 6 kitchens
That's a lot.
at my house.
They were.
I don't know how you fit six kitchens.
I can't have you over. I can't have guests at this point in time.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love it.
Five-bedroom house, we can only use 1 bedroom.
But like with this one Lowe's that's right near us here in Tarpon Springs, they remodeled the house and they do this like when they change over their displays. That's when you want to hit them up. They were remodeling the whole thing, so all their demo kitchens,
Mhm,
their display kitchens,
mhm.
they were getting rid of.
Mm,
A lot of them are full kitchens.
wow.
So there was one there that when you add it all up, it came to about 50,000 because it comes with all the countertops and everything. I bought it for 2,000.
That is.
I can do that.
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
so when you said a full kitchen, like, just give me like what exactly does that include?
All
what
the
do you have when you
cabinets
say
and
a
all
big
the
kitchen? What-
countertops, and cabinets, countertops, and sinks.
That's a pretty
Got it.
$2,000, and they're usually
And
they're not like the.
you're in St. Augustine?
No, I'm in Tarpon Springs, right outside of Tampa.
Got it. Got it. We're out of Tampa. Got it. Okay.
So
Thank
just talk to your people there and, start to develop that rapport.
Or talk to Cheryl and she'll give you a good deal. She's got some kitchen
I'm a royal pain in the butt when it comes to this kind of stuff. I will work these
because
guys.
those kitchens are nice. They're not like the bargain basement kitchens that they have at
No,
play.
they're
They're like
gorgeous.
nice.
Cheryl, any chance you want to broker these deals up for me in Michigan?
potentially.
All right.
Now I need some gap funding because I have all my materials
So
and I need to get them out of my house.
I can imagine.
That's epic.
Well, I ended up, somebody else wanted one of the other kitchens, but hadn't shown up to pay. So the guy said to me, you want another one too? I want up to 2 kitchens for $4,000. And even if I don't use all the cabinets, who cares?
Oh, that's wild. I love it. I love
And
it.
like when you
Hey,
go into
Cheryl,
Lowe's-
I'm gonna be in touch with you.
Okay.
when you go into Lowe's, and you do it, they've got all the high-end, like drawer sliders and special wine racks. So it's got all the things, so they're trying to sell you those kitchens. When you
Yes.
go into custom, so they got all the high-end stuff. You get it all with it. 'Cause
That's
they're just-
awesome.
all they're doing is taking it off the floor and
Yeah.
We have a trailer with the countertops. Because
I was curious about the countertops. What do you do with those? Because that's not an easy move.
they're currently on a trailer.
Oh my goodness. That
I
is
just
hilarious.
worry about how we're gonna put them in the house,
Yeah.
because it took 8 people to load. There's one of them that's so big, it took 8 people to get it onto the trailer.
Wow.
And we were cracking up because one of the islands was a little bit of a different color. And as we were wheeling these pieces out, this woman in pink comes running over to me, this little teeny tiny old woman.
Yeah.
Are you buying that kitchen? It's like, yeah. She goes, I had to match the paint to it. So if you'd want an extra touch-up paint, here's a.
Aw, that's so
That-
sweet.
Somebody's run a forklift into it and scraped the
chipped it.
paint.
Aw,
So they'd already painted it once.
that's so sweet. That's funny. Hey, oh,
Fun doing that.
hey, good to see you, Aldo. Do you want to jump in here yet? I think you're the only one we haven't specifically talked to about what amazing things you're doing right now or focusing on in 2023 out there in California.
Hey, Laura, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry, I've been jumping in and out of calls, during this call. It's still business hours over here.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
still not, you're
but,
not dark yet.
Yeah. So like right now. Yeah. No. I still got a little sunshine still. Yeah. So. But let's see. Yeah. So I mean, for those who don't know me, I've been in Fortune Builders since 2013, almost 10 years now. And from Fortune Builders, I've been involved in quite a few different projects. Primarily doing fix and flips. Mainly here in San Diego and in the LA area. Right now, I'm actually in LA. I'm in the Long Beach area. But this is like the area where we primarily focus our business in. We've transitioned from doing fix and flips and just doing and focusing more now doing more buy and hold properties. Got a project going up here in LA where it's a 2-unit property. We're adding a 3rd unit to the property. We're sitting and waiting for permits to get approved for that. I have been active in the Florida market. Did have a property over there that Laura knows about that we sold last year. I'm getting an itch to do another project out there in the Tampa St. Pete area.
A good
That
reason to
one-
come
that one-
visit, right?
Exactly. I need a reason to go out there. Yeah, absolutely. Even just to do market research, just drive around, look at properties. Yeah. So that is one of my goals this year is to pick up another property out there. Maybe something along the lines of 4 to 10 units. It would be something I want to focus and see if we can pick up out there. Property that we can do, we can use it for multi-purposes, such as we can do long-term rentals or we can do short-term rentals on it. I know there's areas that are, you got to be careful with it, and like in any market, you got to be careful with like the city and all of that, and what's allowed and what's not. But definitely want to get my get active again in the Tampa St. Pete area. And let's see, right now we've also been managing a lot of short-term rentals. We got some short-term rentals that we partnered up with on with the sellers and actually fellow investors as well as fortune builder students that we've partnered up with here in San Diego, where like they're like I don't know how the market is over there, but over here like there's the properties that have been sitting on the market a lot longer. Margins have been super thin. However, there's still like an opportunity to be able to generate good cash flows that they were short-term rentals. At least here in San Diego, every market probably having a different effect with travel and tourism. We've certainly had an impact on tourism here in San Diego, and in LA in general. Numbers are not the same as they were last year, but they still cash flow very well and can provide investors an alternative. If their property's not selling, or it looks like they could possibly take a big hit on the sell side because they've had to do numerous price drops, and so I like to see my investors lose money, so we'll see if we can figure out another solution for them and convert it into a short-term rental, run it and operate for them, the properties. We have a system on we have a team of cleaners and handyman people and all of that, so and we're
Are
starting
you finding, although in California, are you seeing like the same, or like, probably just all over the country, I'm assuming like longer times to, like for a while there, everything would go in the market and 2 hours later, there's 36 offers over asking. And it's definitely, I mean, we feel it, we see it here. There's definitely a shift. And so I guess, what are you seeing in California in that area?
It all depends on the neighborhood. It's all really neighborhood specific. There's certain like, and it all depends on what kind of product you have and like how well are you priced. If you still think that you can get the prices that you could like a year ago, then you're out of your mind. You have to be competitive with the price. You have to even like price it a little bit under market value if you have a nicely renovated property, and just price it to a point where you can get eyes on that property. And get people through the doors, and like I've noticed that if those who have done a good job in just pricing their properties right and don't have too many negatives associated with the properties, for example, it's not on a busy street or your property is not next to an apartment complex, any properties that are just like your standard properties that are like in your a nice single family neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, they're always attractive. With parking, garage and whatnot, those are like, those price well to sell fast. Properties that have a negative to it, they're not selling like they were before, and you really have to like factor in your prices, so it just depends on the area, really. It's neighborhood specific and how well are you pricing your properties.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, is that kind of similar what you guys are experiencing out there, or like what's different out there?
I don't know, anybody can jump in. I don't want to be the only one. I can see I'd love to hear what you all experience, and I can throw my 2 cents in, but Steve or Cheryl or even TJ, where you're at in Michigan, Eric, what are you seeing, TJ? Just, I know you focus on multifamily, but what are you seeing on, can you have a sense of like Michigan? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's
Weird
definitely,
area.
Oops, sorry. There you go.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. It's situational. It's definitely based on the territory you're in. Where we live right now, we have a really weird dynamic. What was it, like 10 years ago? The Kalamazoo Promise, 12 years ago, maybe.
No, it's 04.
Well, 2004, a group of investors, anonymous per se, they put money together to put all kids through college in Kalamazoo. And so any kids that goes to high school, or not high school, actually, public schools from kindergarten to senior year, they give all of their college tuition paid for.
Wow.
And so you can imagine that hit the news and everyone wanted to rush to Kalamazoo, which of course drove the value of the houses up, which of course drove the taxes up. Well, I think there's 4 or 5 billionaires that live here in Kalamazoo. And there's Straker Medical is the big one. So Rhonda Straker, the Straker family.
Mhm.
And she came together and said, listen, let's do a test, but what if I pay down everyone's taxes and see what happens with that? Well, it was interesting. Like, their initial thought was it wasn't really going to change much except for helping the people in the area, not have to pay so many taxes. Well, now what we're seeing is the taxes are going down, but the home values are, like in our area right now, are really staying like stagnant. We're not seeing much change, but the
Mhm.
areas around us are dramatically changing to the lower. So I'm guessing that once the market and the rates start going down again, I think we're going to start seeing our area, because of the desirability of being here, going to go through the roof. But then there's other areas around us literally within 5-10 minutes that you can pick up houses right now for 110, 115, 120,000. And it's wild. So it's a weird dynamic over here. And then on the east side of the state, where towards Detroit and all of that, it's super affluent, right? So most of those areas over there are decently high priced, and the markets are pretty steady. They're just not they're not transacting at the higher values anymore, but they're still steady with regards to sales and whatnot. So inventory is of course low, with the rates being so high, but it's a wild west for sure.
Absolutely. That's why I feel like, at least my experience where I'm at in this, and I know Cheryl's not very far from me and Steve's not either, but there doesn't seem to be, like, the inventory is very low, but it's kind of, I guess, even like I was talking to my neighbor that wanted to move last summer, and now something happened where it didn't work out that time. And she's like, well, I don't know if and she's not in a huge hurry. She's like, I don't know if I'm really going to move now and put a house on the market. Cause she's like, where am I going to go and want to pay this interest rate price? So it's like, I don't know if people are, that maybe would have moved, are now like, well, if I move, now I'm paying this higher interest rate. So am I really benefiting at this point? I have this house and now I'm only going to be able to afford this house. And nobody really wants to go downgrade that way, I don't think, but it's, I don't know. There's definitely been more of a lull, I feel. I don't know, Steve, Cheryl, what do you think?
Oh, I agree 100%. We're seeing houses sitting on the market a lot longer than they were.
Yeah, and definitely
Houses that would be on the market.
price cuts were like unheard of there for a while. Like,
oh yeah,
kidding. Definitely price cuts.
They'd be gone in 24 hours, and now they're on the market 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Mhm.
And big change. So they are coming down in pricing. And a lot of that's with the interest rates too. Like you said, people they don't want to buy with the interest rates high, because maybe they'll come down next quarter.
Mhm.
Rumor has it that maybe. So they're holding. And so selling around here is just kind of stopped.
Mhm.
So the houses are on the market, but unless they're desperate to get rid of it, they're just hanging
People
out.
aren't just moving for the sake of moving, I don't think, at this point. I think it's when you are forcibly having to move, maybe for a job change or something else. People aren't just moving just for the fun of it. Like, I feel like there for a while, like,
Yeah.
yay, like, I always wanted this type of house and interest rates are so low, and sure, let's try it out, and we get so much money for our house. And I feel like that phase is definitely come and gone at the moment.
But isn't there, and you know, I'm not wildly into single family with regards to buying and selling that anymore, but I mean, I've run the numbers on some of the stuff. Like in our area, there's a house that my that my wife, I'm sorry, my wife wants really, really badly.
Oh my God.
It's her dream home, and I've because I'm a creeper with skip tracing and all that. I've sent them letters
We
saying,
also call
listen,
that stalking.
yep, I'm when I stalk them and said like, listen, I want your house, do not sell. Like, here's my number. I live in the area. I'm 2 blocks away. I want this house. And I ran the numbers thinking, okay, what the value of the house was when the market was good. It was really high.
Yeah.
At the rates we're at, I would actually be paying less today if I bought at the value and the interest rates that are currently out, because I'm paying a higher interest rate on a way lower price. Everything was just dramatically inflated pricing
Mhm.
because they could. So do the what is that little case study? Like, do that and find out, what those interest rates look like. It was just fun to deal with and kind of play with and see what those actual numbers are. I mean, I'm not talking like, I'm not talking that you're saving, $100 here or there. It was comparable with regards to what the mortgage, interest and insurance and taxes all included. What it would be at the higher price, the lower rates, at the lower cost of the higher rates. So
Interesting. So it would be basically, I don't want to say convincing, but convincing the people that their house is no longer worth the price a year ago. It's now back to reality.
well, yeah, and think about, and I sat down with I was at a conference I don't know how many months ago, probably 4 months ago, and one of the speakers was an economist, and I got a really, I don't want to steal this here, really good conversation with him about the outlook of everything. And I said, should I be worried? He goes, why? I said, well, rates being high, all that. He goes, no. He was like, I wouldn't be worried. He's like, you get to adjust for sure. He's like, if you don't have cash, he's like, it's definitely, there's a bit of a concern. But he's like, if deals are penciling now, and would you agree with me that in 3 to 4 to 5 years that the economy is going to be better? And I said, I think so. And he goes, you don't think the numbers are even going to be even better then when you refinance 3, 4, 5 years from now? So run the numbers as today. Don't try to be super, aggressive with everything. Be conservative. Your same game plan adds your contingencies in there. It's like, but if the numbers make sense today, they're only going to make better sense, 3, 4, 5 years, as long as you execute in your game plan when debt's going to be cheaper for you. Refinance, take that cash out, have a higher evaluation, and here you go. And so if you run that same scenario with like some of these single families, just run it at today's rate, at what its market is today, against what it was, call it 12, 18 months ago at the lower rates. I think you'd be decently surprised as to the, how comparable it is.
That's interesting now. And I know we are we're so used, I think, just like with all of us being investors, not like, I mean, some of us longer than others, but the rates have never been like, I guess, where they are. But I mean, looking back, I know when my parents, when back in the 80s, they built 2 like 10-unit apartment buildings and they were paying 12, 13%. So like,
Okay.
that
will
was,
date
and so
myself.
in retrospect, like thinking about that is, we're not anywhere near that.
I will
Right.
date myself. My first house, I paid 14%.
Dang.
That
That's
is
what
Back in the day.
that's hard money loans this day and age, baby.
Nope, that was my primary residence through a bank. It was an FHA loan. Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's all cyclical. It'll come down again.
It's just a matter of getting through the shell shock of like, wait a minute,
Well, there's like, he was explaining to me too, is like, we've hit the worst of both times. Rates are high and there's a super inflated sense of value, right?
Okay.
And he goes, one, if not both, will have to give. It's cyclical, it will happen. He goes, now which goes first and what's going to benefit you is totally based on your game plan, your execution, your exit strategy, and everything right there. But he's like, everything's cyclical, it will drop down. The value of the house is probably not going to drop significantly because real estate, the asset itself, usually retains the solid value. But he's like, it's going to come back around to where the rates are going to drop and there's going to be enough, if done right, enough opportunity out there, and you're going to have in my opinion, with the multifamily, and I think few people that I know share this as well, as soon as rates start dropping like sub 5, I think the market is going to explode because we don't know when the rates are going to be that low again, right?
Mhm.
And I'm seeing even quotes right now from some of the lenders I'm talking to where they're doing like 7 to 10 year balloons amortized like 40 to 50 years.
I've
They're
heard.
not doing 20, 25, 30 years anymore. So, they're trying to do is create an influx of cash flow
Mhm.
for the investors so that we don't run into a scenario again. Now, a 50-year mortgage is obviously is going to get messy.
It just
But
seems like that is wild. Like that's 5
right.
decades.
Next, I mean, I think the moment we open up the floodgates, I mean, what we're going 50, why not go 60, 70, right? Like,
Exactly.
but like, that's the thing is like, as soon as that cash flow is created, I mean, I'm getting interest only periods where I was looking at them before at like 18 to 24 months. And they were always out there, but I've been looking, I got a bank that offered me 7-year interest only at 5%, with a rider that if the 5-year treasury drops below X, that it will automatically refinance to the better for me upon reevaluation of the property. So like
Wow.
they're planning ahead so that they can, they don't run into issues, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road. They have some sort of justification, they can go to their investors. If they're
Yeah.
publicly traded, it's a little different. But if it's these credit unions, that they have, some sort of guarantee.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. That's interesting. I'm trying to go find my charger. My battery's running low. So, no, that's phenomenally interesting on the mortgage aspect of it. But yeah, this was very, very intriguing this evening. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or input or any ideas of anything anybody wants to discuss this year. In case my battery runs out while I'm plugging in, you can always text me or where to find me. Sorry. Oh, I love computers and tech and batteries. Is there anything anybody else really wanted to talk about this evening? But I do appreciate y'all getting on. I found it very informative, and it was good to just kind of reconnect after a few months of knowing where everybody was at and what everybody was doing and how we can help each other. And because that's really, again, the goal every
Through the holidays.
after the holidays, we're like, all right, let's refocus. It's 2023. Still can't believe it's 2023. Well, that just happened, and where all this time goes. But I guess that's the way of it. So yeah, I mean, again, thank you for it was great learning or talking about the 50% rule. I know we talked about that some, and then cool learning about what you're doing, Steve, in Georgia, and TJ with all your multifamily, and Cheryl with all your kitchens. All of it, and Aldo and all of what you're doing out there in California. So you're real quick, Aldo. So management, how many properties are you managing out there?
Right now we have 6 short-term rentals and another 2 that are on the pipeline that are about to start getting furnished and ready to have as short-term rentals. Yeah.
How do you furnish? What do you do real quick before I kind of wrap this up? How do you go about funding the furnishing of the short-term rentals?
How do I go about that? Well, usually we give the sellers the sellers will, the owners of the property will furnish it, but if they need help with furnishing, then I can definitely come in and furnish the properties for them, obviously at a fixed interest rate, and then we'll get paid back from the revenue from the short-term rentals.
Oh, okay, cool. I was curious. That is always, when you're trying to get a short-term rental going, the furnishing of it is definitely, there's a cost involved if it's not already a furnished property, and it can be significant and really,
yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a different cost. It was again, I wouldn't let y'all go. And I know that I think the Tampa Bay Bucks are playing, I think right now, maybe. I think I hear football going on behind me. And we are in Tampa, so I feel like I need to go cheer for Tampa. I do
I hope they beat the Cowboys.
You what?
I hope they beat the Cowboys.
I hope so too. I was never a Brady fan. when we were, we lived from Pittsburgh Steelers. He played for Patriots. It was always a horrible matchup for the Steelers. It was a very hard matchup for us. But when he came to Tampa, I'm like, okay, I can be a fan now.
Well, see, I have to tell you, I'm from Connecticut, so I was always a Patriots fan.
So you've always been a fan.
I've always been a fan. I do think he should have stayed retired, though.
Yeah, it is one of those things, though. I was,
Might have
I just hope we
cost
win.
his family.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, right.
on that, Laura, real quick,
yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, this is the only way that I can describe this because I watched him play in college, and of course, good career in the pros. But that guy, and this might sound really, really weird, but this is the only way I can describe it. He looks like he smells like saliva.
Ew.
That's the only way I can do it. Like, I just don't get it. I look at him and I go, you just don't, like, you can't smell good, and I don't know why. I can't get that out of my head.
Yes.
So
It's hilarious. But now that you've said that to me, I will never be able to let
you
that
can't look at him again.
in my head
Yeah,
as
he
well.
looks like he smells
So
like
now
saliva.
if I see him in anything, I'm gonna be like, he looks like he smells like saliva.
He looks like he smells like saliva. It doesn't go away either. You look at him and you go, God, he does.
And I'm not saying you're wrong, because I kind of think now that you've said it, I would have never came up with that thought myself. But now that you've said it, I can't dispute it.
Well, my wife just said most people wouldn't. So you don't be. No one should be ashamed of not thinking of the weirdest thing about Ben Roethlisberger. So.
That's hilarious. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up and hope to see you all next month. And until then, have a blessed week, blessed month, and then we'll all touch base soon and hope you guys have mad success.
Thank
You
you.
too.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.